Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Cheltenham Roar, the show brought to you by PricedUp.bet and oddschecker as we look ahead to both the Cheltenham Festival but also the weekend's racing. And this is the second episode of the week. Yesterday we covered day one of the DRF and today it is the Sunday, day two of the Dublin Racing Festival from Leopardstown. I'm your host George Ellick, delighted to be joined as I was yesterday by Andy Holding and Aidan O'Hara. Now Aidan, we were chatting just now before I hit record. You're going tomorrow. You live about an hour and a half away from the course. Yeah. What can you tell us about the current weather conditions? Because the market on the exchanges about whether or not racing will go ahead on Saturday is flip-flopping seemingly by the hour.
Yeah, I'd say if it was a normal course and not Leopardstown, there'd be like no chance that it's going to be on because the amount of rain is unbelievable. Like I'm an hour. It's raining right now. It's been raining for the last while. But I'd be afraid to turn my camera around because I'd probably have struggled to get it back in the right spot. But anyway, it's miserable, to say the least, right? But Leopardstown drains remarkably well. I'd imagine it'll be on, unless it lashes tonight. You never really know what these forecasts, But it would need to be bad for Leopardstown to be off. But it's probably because the bank holiday weekend. I know it'll be a bit of a nuisance now if you're coming from the UK, but... And the bank holiday Monday, I'd imagine if anything went wrong, they have that in the background to be able to go Sunday, Monday instead. But I actually don't know that now. I'm not sure. Obviously, it wouldn't matter to me, but you'd have to feel for anyone coming from the UK, or further afield.
I mean, Andy, from a betting perspective, how much is it impacting the way you're approaching the weekend? Knowing that even if racing's going to go ahead, it would only go ahead having passed an inspection, having been unraceable the day before.
It's unprecedented, isn't it, really, to have the meeting like this with such bad ground. We're obviously used to softish ground over in Ireland most of the time, but Leopardstown, by and large, has been fairly favourable for the last 4 or 5 years, as far as I can remember. And it's not really what most trainers would want, even though it's still 5 weeks away from the Cheltenham Festival. No trainer would really want an arduous race on heavy ground, and that's the problem. I think the jockeys are going to go out there trying to ride a winner, of course, but I think they'll be ringing in the back of their mind, look, if this is beat, let's not beat it up. So I think if you're backing horses each way and what have you, they're not necessarily going to be ridden out for third and fourth for dear life. I just think it's going to be difficult to sort the wheat from the chaff. So similar to Aidan, I'm only really going to be looking at decent prices. There's no way I'm going to be backing anything short here with that sort of thought process at the back of my mind.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So let's hope that racing does go ahead on both days. And as was the case with episode 1, the Saturday preview, we're going to go through the card race by race. We'll be going through priced up's prices, having a look at the Cheltenham Festival races that are relevant where applicable. If you haven't already got a Priced Up account, do sign up for one, PricedUp.bet. Sign up for an account there. As we discussed yesterday, they're going aggressive with their place terms over the course of the DRF, so a good place to get your bets on. And there are price boosts every day of sport, especially in racing too. And hopefully the guys at Priced Up will listen to this and may even boost the selections of Andy and Aidan. But we'll kick off then with our Sunday preview. There are 8 races on the card, so let's get cracking and open up with the 1240, which is the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle over 2 miles and 2 furlongs, where we've got Seo Gale, apologies for my pronunciation there to all Irish listening to this, 11-2. Cousin Kate's the favourite at 9-2, 11-2 Seo Gale. Adrienne 13-2, Shoda 7-1. May Call You Back is actually 11-2. As you can see, the market's kind of all over the place here with different firms taking different stances. Which normally means, Andy, that someone's got it wrong. Can you find any prices here that appeal in the opener?
Yeah, I can. The first thing to say, it's amazing considering this race is named after Paddy and Maureen Mullins. That Team Mullins haven't actually won it, and they've had quite a few short price favourites that have failed to stand the test. Whether that'll change over the weekend, I don't know. The interesting one for me here, and a lot depends on how Narcisco Haas does on Saturday, providing that goes ahead. And I presume that Narcisco Haas probably will win. I think that'll affect the price on Adrienne, who chased him home when she ran here 37 days ago. Now, admittedly, it was like running on 3 beaten horses, having been ridden out the back with a view to pick up some place money. So it wasn't in the heat of battle, which sometimes it can be, those kind of late headway monkeys can be a little bit misleading. But I think she gets in quite well off a mark of 122. I think these juveniles can be quite dangerous in these races in open handicaps at this time of year when they've had 3 or 4 runs and they've gained a bit of experience. And let's not forget, she is a heavy ground winner in her own right as well when she won at Fairyhouse early on in the season. I like the fact that Ted Walsh has pitched her into sort of graded level. He obviously thinks she's up to that standard. So I'd be prepared to take a chance with her at her current price, around about 8-1, on the basis that she's unexposed. And there's not many 4-year-olds that have had a crack at this. I had a look through the record. I think only one 4-year-old has had a shot at the stumps in this kind of race. So she's going to break quite a few trends if she does well in this. So yeah, I quite like chances of her. Adrienne, I think she's a decent each way chance.
Adrienne 13-2, priced up currently a fifth of 5 in terms of their place terms. Adrienne, the one for Andy. Aidan, how do you see it? Normally go after something at least 2-figure price?
Yeah, and I tell you, I struggled with this now a small bit. All that said now, I had sort of the 2 horses that pop up immediately are Adrienne and Shoda as proper novices, that are obviously underexposed. I probably like Adrienne and maybe Shoda as well, right? They both have good form. I mean, Sean Bowen and Shoda. I want a big price in heavy ground, though, fillies race. But while I was looking at this, I looked down towards obviously the bottom of the weights and the bottom of the market as well. And I noticed one here, and I kind of wondered why I remembered the name of the horse. But Kimmy is it's nearly bottom weight, getting weight from, gotten £5 from that Sean Cleary Farrell, who's a very good jockey as well. And it's Tom Mullins. And this horse had been kind of doing nothing and was second in this exact race last year on soft ground. It's basically done nothing since and is a couple of pounds lower now. And I think we can be relatively certain that this is the only possibility of maybe a horse like that getting 60 grand to win a race. This horse would be definitely going for this. There's not a doubt in the world. It's Tom Mullins. So he is part of the Mullins family. And she was second last year. She's been poor since. But there's no point. She had a reasonable run in January early on. She's had a couple of runs. I don't know whether that's to get fit or whatever. I must look at how close her runs were last year. She had one at the end of December. But I'm just going off the fact that this horse's one bit of really, really good form was second in this last year. She's won a maiden hurdle. She's done she had a few other decent runs as well. But it's got to be a target. And I think at the price, it's kind of between 28 and 33-1, that kind of price. It interests me. And she's going to be carrying 9 stone 7 around that, which I think in a fillies race on heavy ground, I kind of like the thoughts of that, especially with already having the farm. So I'll be going for her. I don't think I'll change. There's some very good horses in this, like Galileo Damon. I don't think any of those will be suited by the ground, I'd imagine. So it'll be Kimmy for me in this one.
Yeah, Kimmy 28-1 with priced up as it stands with those 5 places. The selection there for Aidan. On to the 110 now. The Novice Chase over 2 miles and 5 furlongs, where final demand is the 2-5 favourite ahead of Kate Doughty at 6-1. Jimmy DeSole and Western Fold both 15-2 and 66-1 for Rushmount. Now obviously this is the Cheltenham Roar. This plays into the Brown Advisory, where final demand is the even money favourite for the Brown Advisory on the Wednesday at Cheltenham in March. The Big Westerner is 7-1, 8-1 Kitzbühel, 10-1 Wendigo, 16-1 Salver and Western Fold, and a couple of others too. Andy, how do you see this? Can you make a case for any being value in this kind of trappy affair with just a couple of places on offer with an odds-on favourite?
I wish I could, but I think we're dealing with low-level fruit here, aren't we, with final demand. He's by far and away the best novice we've seen either side of the Irish Sea. Certainly on the figures that we've got, that Limerick run. Everyone's kind of knocked that, but the time was really good. I think the fact that Jimmy DeSoy was a busted docket at the top of the hill suggests that they were going a good clip, and Fall and Demand completely broke the heart of his stablemate. I mean, you could knock the form if you're looking through the prism of the third, but I think that's a dangerous game to play. As far as I could see, Fall and Demand had an absolute ton left in hand. He hit the line really strongly. Patrick really came out of third gear, to be honest. And this should be fairly straightforward for him, with the greatest respect to the rivals he's facing come Sunday, stroke Monday, whichever day they run it on. It's another thing that gets me quite annoyed about these kind of things. When it was like Bambino Fever the other day. I mean, she was 6-1 on, but bookmakers didn't need any more excuses to cut another point off a horse that was almost bound to win. And I think that kind of practice really drives punters around the twist. And you know, we're not going to really learn a huge amount more than we don't already know about Fall and Demand. You know, if he's going to win here, he's going to be a 1-3 shot, and yet the even money, I think, will still come under pressure just because bookmakers will just want to cut him. That's what they do. Yeah, maybe looking at one to chase home the favourite, looking for a bit of value. Maybe Western Fold could be the answer. He was good enough to beat Affadel Fury, wasn't he, Gowran, 2 runs ago. And I had reservations about him handling the ground that day. I remember doing a podcast on my own service and thinking, oh, he might struggle to beat the likes of Blood Destiny and Affadel Fury, but he beat them fairly readily. He ran quite well subsequently in a decent contest. So with that little break that he's had off, that might just have freshened him up a bit. So yeah, I think he might be the only value left in the in that race, rather than go down the short price favourite route with Fall and Demand.
Aidan, anything for you in this one?
No, I mean, a lot would depend on the ground, I think. I think I wouldn't want it heavy for the other three, for K. Dotty, Jimmy's Decile or Western Fold. You know, I'm not sure if it's off Saturday, is which day is going to be on Monday. Do they move the whole thing back? If that had anything like 2 days drying, the other 3 horses would be back in this, I think, against Final Demand. But on the heavy ground, you just can't see. I can't see it, you know. It's worth a watch. That's a classy race. You know, those 4 horses are classy. Jimmy Decile last time was poor, but the time before he's very good. I just don't think he could jump out the Limerick heavy ground. He couldn't do anything right. So it's worth watching for the festival. Like, we could be looking at this. This race could have a biggish impact. I'd say the ground at the festival would be good. Final Demand, or not good, but good to soft, or whatever, you know, good to soft to place, whatever it is, probably at worst. I wouldn't be 100% sure the Final Demand is that quick. So you wouldn't know what would happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, he got outpaced in the Turners, or whatever I was going to say, Sunlines, or whatever it's called now, the Turners, last year. So I'm not 100% sure how quick he is. But anyway, this race is really going to suit him, I'd say. So.
Yeah, 2 to 5, and hard to find too many flaws in that. Much better betting heat looks the Ireland Novice Hurdle over 2 miles, where Talk the Talk is the 9 to 4 favourite, ahead of King Rasco Grey at 11 to 4, Ballyfad 3 to 1, the Reverend 7 to 1, 16 to 1 starting 15, 18 to 1 Davy Crockett and Blake, 20 to 1 the Divine Enfant, and 40 to 1 bar those. Aidan, how do you see this?
Now, I tell you one thing, I struggled with this a small bit, I have to say, right? I don't like Talk to Talk being favourites when he fell the last time, no matter what race it was in. The race looked to me as a run to suit. I do like both. I prefer the other 2 of the favourites. I prefer King Rascal Grey and Ballyfad. Ballyfad's speed at the finish of his race looked very good. I mean, he just pulled away from a reasonable, what looked like a decent race. But I'm interested in 2 other ones. I'm not going to, back. Those are basically nearly 3 to 1 each, and so it's taken up a huge amount of the market. The one I'm interested in is this. Well, it's 2, one for Cheltenham maybe, and one for this race. But Le Divan Infant, the form, he looks possibly not quick enough for a standard 2 mile race. But on heavy ground, the form of his race in France is excellent. His last race in France is really excellent. And he got tired at the end of a very fast 2 miles last time at Leopardstown. But if you see what happened to the other couple of horses that were near him, I think it was Cocktail Brute. It was absolutely, completely beaten 2 furlongs from home. So I think he may be a bit better than what that looked, and he was fourth in that. And I think the soft ground will suit him. So he's around the 20-1 mark. I don't mind him, but the trouble with it is you're dealing with what looks like three very decent horse favourites. The other one I'm interested in, I'm not sure whether it's for this, but this Mr. Pessimistic, that same race, I thought he ran well now. He got outpaced again, but I think I'd be interested in him down the line. So I'm going to be watching how he runs. But in this race, anyway, Le Devant and Font seems to value at 20-1.
The Devant and Font 20-1 there with priced up, as Aidan says. Andy, how do these stack up on the clock? Does this market look the way you'd have it?
Yeah, nothing's done like a worldy time yet. There's been lots of horses that have been doing sort of late 60 times. None of them have done over a 70, which is the benchmark for all good Grade 1 novices that we have going into the festival. I'm pretty sure that they'll run close to that if there's a decent gallop on this weekend. Ballyfad's a lovely horse, I like him, but he did win a very slowly run race, as Aidan said. He had every right to be quickening off the front there. It was definitely a meeting where Jack Kennedy and Gordon Elliott were doing everything right, and all the cards played right for them, including that race. But like I said in the previous preview, the juvenile Narcisco Haas ran a much quicker time. So how he'll be tested in a proper, truly run race is going to define how good Ballyfad is. Talk the Talk's jumping index has been really poor, 5.7 and 6.6, and then he fell last time out. So he's definitely got to improve on the jumping stakes. He's quite clumsy over his hurdles. He's one of those ones that just doesn't respect his obstacles. So I came round to the way of thinking when I did a preview early on in the week. So the actually only anti-post bet I had at the DRF was King Rasco Grey. I thought he was good value in midweek. He was actually a nice each-way price. He isn't that now.
What price do you want, Andy? You've got to say.
He was 5-1. He was 5-1. So nothing like outrageous. We're not dealing with 10 or 12 to 1, and now you're looking at a really skinny price. Would I back him at 11 to 4 now? Possibly not. Obviously the value's all gone, but I was really impressed with him at Limerick. I didn't really know much about him until he turned up there, but he was really good. He travelled smooth. He jumped really well, but it was the way he quickened on that bad ground. As Aidan will probably know, Limerick, it's hard to look impressive there. And he really did turn on the turbo after the last. He left behind him some good horses, short diplomacy, good bumper form. They really liked I Started a Joke. I mean, he's around about a 5-2 favourite to win the handicap, which we're going to deal with a little bit later on. And he's gone on to win subsequently. So the two in behind have both won since. And the time figure was really good. It was certainly up with a similar time figure, if not better than Ballyfad did when he won. So I thought he was a little bit underestimated in midweek, but certainly not now. And it looks like Paul Townend's chosen him as well, which is the final tick in the box. I don't fancy the Reverend. I think he's quite small. I don't think he'll handle the ground. And it wouldn't surprise me. Switch from Diesel ran quite well. She's been crying out for a strongly run race. She hasn't had that yet, but she's got very good form in bumpers. And she's good enough to win a 1.5 mile maiden on the flats at the Coron soft ground. Aidan will love that at 66 to 1. I think she's much better than that. But yeah, I've gone with King Rasco Grey, and he's my nap of the weekend. So fingers crossed.
Let's hope his farm gets an uptick on the Saturday, because in that really good bumper, Yeshil was second and he was fourth. So maybe
yes,
that'll be a nice farm boost. Hopefully, touch wood. Yeah. Anyway,
for those who haven't watched day one's preview, Aidan put up Yeshil at 50 to 1 in the first. So if Yeshil's already won and you're not on and you haven't watched, you've missed out, I'm afraid. Do we think Talk the Talk is currently the 8 to 1 third favourite for the Supreme Novice Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival? Ballyfad is 16 to 1. King Rasco Grey 20 to 1. And if you're interested in King Rasco Grey to win here on Sunday, does that 20 to 1 appeal at all, or do you think this is a fair bit below the quality needed?
The thing is with King Rasco Grey, I mean, if he does win here, which I hope he does, it'll be another heavy ground win. So if you're looking to back him for the Supreme stroke Turners, I think you want to do non-runner no bet, and there's quite a few firms now that are doing that, because there's a good possibility of the old switcheroo. He's a bit like Slade Steele, who was going for the Turners and then he dropped back to the Supreme when they had genuine soft heavy ground on day one. And I think he's that kind of horse. I think he looks shapes like a 2.5 miler that's got a good turn of foot. So he's a difficult one to peg from an anti-post perspective. So yeah, I'd be very much, like I say, non-runner no bet. So you could perhaps have a little shop around for that exotic.
Okay, on to the Dublin Chase now, over an extended 2 miles, where Margeborough is the 7-4 favourite ahead of Marine Nationale at 2-1. Solness 7-2, Energumene is 8-1, 11-1 Founder 50, and 100-1 the outside of the field, Senetia. Another 6-runner race here. Again, Aidan, I guess tricky to really fancy any at big prices, or do you?
Well, I just have the market as about right, mostly for this. I mean, the heavy ground, and I don't think that's going to suit Marine Nationale. That doesn't mean he won't win, though. You know, if he's on form, he's on form. I don't think there's much between the three of them, and Solness around, but Solness isn't big enough. You know, you know the way you'd be hoping he'd be a bigger price than that. But now, eventually, you know, he's probably the correct price in that he's farm around Leopardstown, example. I always thought he was a good ground horse, but I was kind of wondering, would Found 50 go to a massive price? Just because if you look at his farm, if the ground is proper, say heavy, and you look at his farm on heavy ground, and it does read really well, and the other three, you can find negatives about the top three in the market that would make it worthwhile looking at him, but I think he'd have to get to. I thought before I looked, I was say looking at the farm and stuff, because God, he must be a big price, surely 20-1. But he's actually 10 or 11-1, which I wouldn't touch now at that. I just wouldn't. He's not. I don't think he's. I think you want heavy ground, and you want somewhere around the 20-1 mark to get kind of interested in Found 50. That's if it's very heavy ground. So at the moment, that race is a watch for me, and obviously it's very interesting. And Energumene is back there as well after a run. Like it is soft ground. He's getting older, but I don't think it's not out of the question. I don't think. Very interesting race though. You know, thank God. They've mostly all turned up who would want to see. So that's going to be a proper. That's a proper good race.
Andy, how do you see it?
Yeah, Marsborough's just not a big enough price for me to back him. I just don't trust him at a short price, basically. His jumping has definitely gone a little bit all over the shop in the last 2 or 3 runs. You know, he was very awkward at Cork. I don't think he jumped great at Leopardstown. And let's face it, Marine Nationale gave him a thick end of a 10-length head start due to that mistake at the second, and still run him down. Given it was his first run of the season as well. It just shows you how good Marine Nationale is. But Aidan's right, the ground is definitely a concern. I certainly wouldn't want to be putting him up at the very moment in time, but you get a chance to have a look at what the ground's going to be like Sunday, having watched racing on Saturday, and if it goes on Monday, well, vice versa, you get another day's perhaps of it drying out. So he's very much a contingency if on whatever ground it's going to be. I mean, at 9-4, he's definitely a bet. I mean, he's only 9-4 to win the Champion Chase, and he's got less of field to worry about here. Solness, the ground again, would be a worry for him. And I think it's very significant, or a little bit off-putting, that both Margeborough has got cheek pieces on, and Solness, even though he won last time out, now has got the visor on. So it's as if both sets of connections are still not totally convinced by what their horses are actually doing. So it's just a complete mess of a race at the moment. Marine Nationale win this 9 times out of 10 on good or good to yielding ground, but if it is genuine heavy on Sunday, that'd probably be enough to put me off.
Well, looking at the Champion Chase market currently, Marine Nationale is 6-4 to defend his crown. Margeborough 4-1, Loda Sud 7-1, 15-2 Il Était Temps, Calixios and John Bon and Solness all 16-1, 33-1 bar those. Andy, anything that catches that takes your fancy now before Sunday's race?
Not really. No, I think it's just difficult to see beyond Marine Nationale. Now that's absolutely boring, and it's a bit of a straight back answer. But he's just so good round Cheltenham. The better ground's going to suit him, and as we saw last year, he was by far and away much the best. So I think he's not going to be any shorter on the day. You might end up getting sort of 7-4, 2 on the day. So he's just not a bet even anti-post at the moment, regardless of what he does over the weekend.
Aidan, anything that you like in the Champion Chase?
Give Again, as Andy said, not those prices. On the day, Masborough and Masborough is winning a length of mirror or whatever. Masborough is going to be backed on the day, and Marine National is not going off 6-4 if all these turn up. You will get some stage during the morning. You're going to get 2-1 about Marine National anyway. It's Cheltenham, you usually will. But I probably would be Calixios. It's the only thing about last year's Champion Chase. I was on Calixios now, so I'll just front up that I probably was looking at it through through my own eyes, right? But I thought Marine National was possibly wanting to throw the towel in just before that last fence. To me, he looked like he was travelling well. Suddenly, Calixios got back up sides him, and he started looking around. I wouldn't have been as certain that he was going to fly clear. Calixios is a bit of a battler now and likes that hill as well. I wouldn't be 100% sure. Like, he looked like he flew up the hill, but that's because he was on his own. It was like a gallop, off he went. But to my eye, in between the last two fences, he looked like he kind of wanted to get over towards Calixios, and he mightn't be that genuine. I'm not 100% sure. There's just something about it. I was obviously cursing the fact that Calixios fell because it was like 40-1, but I don't know. I there was something about that gave me a bit of a negative towards him anyway. But it's hard. The market is hard there now. When you look down, there's nothing, at the prices that they are now anyway.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next race on the card then, which is the 245, the Handicap Chase, where Buhale Bot is the 6-1 joint favourite with Kim Rogue. Back Me Sack Me is 13-2. We've got Kinturk Kalanisi and Waterford Whispers both 17-2. Win Some Lose Some 11-1. Barleyborn Belter 11-1. We've got 4 JP horses in the first 7, so it's a handicap chase at the DRF. Andy, how do you see this at this stage?
Yeah, there's a horse in here that's a little bit of a cliff horse for me, and that's Kinturk Kalanisi. I really liked his chances going into last year's Irish National. He looked as though Thomas Gibney had trained him for the race. He'd had a spin, ran Fairy House as a novice when he was second to Judicious Alan, so I thought, that's definitely the target. He then chased down 3-card Bragg at Navan. He was unlucky when I think he would have won the next day at Naas when he was still cantering in a handicap. So all roads led to the Irish National. He went off second favourite, and he just didn't jump as well as he might, and that can be his Achilles heel. Sometimes he is sometimes a little bit ignorant over his fences, but he was back to his best the other day in the Paddy Power, and I thought he was going to win turning for home. I was absolutely cursing because I never had a penny on him. I thought, oh Christ, Kinturk Kalanisi is going to win. And in the end, he just didn't quite get home on his first run for the thick end of a year. But given that he went so strongly through that 3-mile race, and he's now dropping back down to what I think could well be his ideal trip, particularly on heavy ground, a strongly run 2-mile 5 on heavy ground for a strong traveller, I think this could be tailor-made for him. And I like the fact that he's gone well around Leopardstown on his last run. He's not a big enough price to interest Aidan, but he's a horse that often he's a horse that often places. I know Aidan likes to bet him in the place market, but other than that Irish National blowout, he's basically as bomb-proof as you could get for a horse, almost running his race and finishing the frame every time. So yeah, he'll do for me, Kinturk Kalanisi.
Kinturk Kalanisi 17-2, and this is another race where Priced Up have been pretty aggressive with their place terms, already going a 5th to 6th places, so matching the industry best there in terms of each way betting. Aidan? Well,
I was on Kinturk Kalanisi the last time, and I for a minute there, I don't know what price I was on, at 33-1 or something like that. For a minute there, I was, I thought maybe things are turning, but I think he's the most likely winner, so he's the favourite for this race, as far as I'm concerned. In and around 6-1, something like that. I think he's classy. He's a good novice. He's plenty capable of winning this. A lot of the we'll say horses that might have been prepped for this, that are in the green and gold, I'm not 100% sure any of them are classy enough. Like Kinturk Kalanisi is, what's he got, 10, 12, £5 claimer on He's the most likely winner, definitely. So he's the favourite, and I would not be surprised if he went off in the 5-6 to 1 range. I think it's really going to suit him. Sort of bet on course. I don't mind 6 times in my 20 quid or 10 quid or whatever it is. It's not the sort of what I generally tip at these big handicaps, but I do like him. I think, and I was on the last time, and he travelled the best, so I like him as well. The one that interests me at a price, now this is about as tough a handicap as I've seen, but sometimes with these, on the day of the race, the market is going to be mad. There are things that are 25 to 1 here that go 50 to 1. So the best tip you can give anyone is wait until 10 o'clock in the morning of the race. You will, any outsider, you're going to get between 33 and 40 to 1, about a third of this field. Do you know what I mean? But the one I do like, Il Atlantique has plenty of class, form on good ground. I quite liked his last run, which is a step up in trip behind Hartswood, which he realistically he wouldn't. I mean, I'm not sure how close you could get to him. The fact that Danny is on as well, Willie has a lot of runners in this race, a lot that Danny could ride. He's a you could call him a disappointing horse, but in a handicap, in a strong run handicap, and Danny's probably as good as you'll want on a possibly near the front of the, up with the pace. I think 16 to 1 is quite big. There's not that many classy horses in the race, maybe apart from Kinter Calnisi, possibly Kim Rock, but some of those are too short. So I'll end up going with Il Atlantique. It's probably a win bet though. I think he's front. I'm not 100% sure whether he's valued to place in that at whatever that is, 3.5 to 1 or whatever. But I'd go win Il Atlantique, and I'd probably do the boat, a win bet on boat, and not take the place terms here, just especially on the heavy ground. So that's who I like, and they're both the same. So I agree with Andy there.
Yeah, Il Atlantique is, since we've been recording, been cut, priced up from 16 to 1 to 12 to 1. So there are bugs in the house, Aidan. Someone's following your every move, but 12 to 1 now are priced up as it stands. Il Atlantique there for Aidan. Right, we've got 3 more races on the card. We've got the Irish Champion Hurdle next up, where Lossiemouth is the 6 to 5 favourite ahead of Brighter Days Ahead at 7 to 4. Amsterdam is 15 to 2. El Fabiolo 10 to 1. Poneros is 22 to 1. And Cashildale Lad is 50 to 1. Andy, interesting this. Lossiemouth, of course, also now favourite for the 2 to 1 favourite for the Champion Hurdle ahead of the new line at 3 to 1, and Brighter Days Ahead at 7 to 1. Thoughts on those markets?
Yeah, well, I hope whatever happens to Lossiemouth, she runs well enough to prompt connections to have a spin at the Champion Hurdle. They kind of rather ducked the issue last year, when perhaps in hindsight they might have gone down that route, but surely they can't do the same again now. All the big guns in inverted commas are out. Obviously Sergino, Constitutional, potentially Stateman. The doors ajar really, so they haven't really got any excuses this time around. Ground's not ideal for her, but it's not ideal for anything really other than perhaps El Fabiolo. I could certainly see him tightening up in the market. He looked good the other day, albeit against inferior opposition on paper anyway, but he did kick into touch the horse that ended up winning the Cotswold Chase, and Glenn Keeln as well, who lowered the colours of some well-fancied horses the other day over in Naas. So at least the form of that Punchestown win the other day has worked out quite well, and he is a real strong stayer over 2 miles on heavy ground. If there is a fly in the ointment to the big 3 here, he's definitely, or the big 2, he's definitely the one. My theory on Brighter Days Ahead is that I think that race when she won the Neville's Hotel last Christmas bottomed her, and she wasn't the same horse at Cheltenham, and hasn't really been since. I thought Lossiemouth beat her fair and square here the last day, and probably will do again. I think the right favourite is Lossiemouth, but they have been priced up as probably most punters would see it. You'd have Lossiemouth have favourite over Brighter Days Ahead, and then you're scratching around with the rest. So it's a bit similar to the Marine Nationale Marsborough race. It's a bit of a no bet race for me. It's just a really good spectacle. You don't have to have a bet in every race to enjoy it, and I'll definitely enjoy this one. But if you were looking for a little bit of value, and I think it will start shorter, probably more 6 or 7 to 1, that would be El Fabiolo.
Yeah, El Fabiolo currently 10 to 1. We're priced up, best price on the oddschecker grids Aidan?
Yeah, it's El Fabiola's not out of question there, I don't think. I think you're right about brighter days ahead. It's a point I'm making a long time. If you can count on one finger maybe the amount of horses who've had a performance like that over the last 10-15 years and ever did it again. It just Constitution Hill maybe in the Supreme and the Champion Hurdle. That's all I can't think of another one. Like Mastermind at the likes of that. I mean, he did win another Champion Chase, but it was nothing like the first one. Like when they do that, they go like whatever it is. I don't know what the figures are going to say, but 10, 14 pounds too fast, too good. They do not do it again. I can't, and maybe I'm wrong, and my memory's not great. I can't think of another horse, and there's loads to have done that. Like Faheen, okay, he ran again, and he won that race, one of the best days racing I ever went. He won the Novice Chase in Leopardstown, one of the Dublin Racing Festival a few years ago. Brilliant, right? But he was definitely not the same horse. And I think Constitution is the only one who's put in two fantastic performances. I can't think of anyone else. So that's a big negative, I think. Massive negative. Because they just don't do it. But I made in the previous at the Christmas Hurdle or whatever it's called at Leopardstown, the minute that race was over, I got all excited about Amsterdam for the Champion Hurdle at a ginormous price, just because like his jumping was really good. I don't know what, I haven't looked at the jump index or anything like that, but to my eye the jumping was good. He should have been beaten by 50 lengths. The pace that he went past good horses miles too soon there and broke clear. He should have been gone. I think he stayed on relatively well behind two proper stayers, and I've my mind made up that the Champion Hurdle is the race that's going to suit him. Now he's not a big enough price in it right now, but I won't mind him finishing third in this. It's 3-4 lengths behind, going out to 14, 16 to 1 for the Champion Hurdle, and I'll probably go in again. I just think that race is going to suit him. We've no proof because he have a negative. He hasn't run in Cheltenham, so we just don't know. But he certainly jumps well. He certainly has speed, and it's most definitely a poor Champion Hurdle. And like I would have been dead against him early on in the year now, Amsterdam, but I saw something there that piqued an interest at a huge price. So I'm kind of interested in the run of the race. El Fabiola, while I'm there, the likely horse I'm going to back is El Fabiola. I think the ground is kind of soft or heavy. Just because, like, no matter what the two mares, like, they're obviously top class, and Lossiemouth is very consistent. But she does look like she'll get beaten by, you know what I mean? She doesn't look totally top class. She probably still could win the Champion Hurdle, obviously, but she's definitely beatable anyway. So I'd probably back El Fabiola on the day and be hoping for a nice, maybe doesn't stay run from Amsterdam, and because I really like my big price bet for the Champion Hurdle, just because I think it's going to suit him.
Really interesting, yeah. So Amsterdam currently 10 to 1 with priced up for the Champion Hurdle, but as Aidan says, maybe wait and see if that price might bounce a little bit off the back of this. But El Fabiolo, the selection for both guys, 10 to 1 currently with priced up. Two more races on the card. We've got the Handicap Hurdle over 2 miles. I Started a Joke is the 11 to 4 favourite, ahead of A Dream to Share at 13 to 2. Coquito Bello is 9 to 1. 9 to 1 also Mercia, 11 to 1. Bunting, Bowen's on Fire, Put a Pound in the Jar, and a few others too. 20 runners here, plenty of big prices. Aidan, this looks up your street.
Yes, it is, and these 2 mile handicap hurdles are probably generally me strongest, over the years. I think it's like the county hurdle and that, but I struggled a bit, but I've kind of settled on one now. I like Blue Lemons with Danny Mullins up. Like, he's only raced a couple of times on soft ground. He's won both. He's a couple of good runs. He just looks like he's capable of something. And his platform is obviously good. Do you know what I mean? And on soft ground. I think this race will suit him. It'll definitely suit him. And Danny's, I don't know who, God knows who gets to pick. I'm not sure anyone gets to pick anything. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Patrick Mullins just tells you what horse you're riding, maybe. But I don't think this is a good race in that there's a load of novices in it. It's an odd one in that I was reading through the age of the horses in it, and like 90% of the field are 5 and 6, which is kind of unbelievable for this. Like a lot of the old favourites aren't here, but of the ones at a price, the one I like at the moment is Blue Lemons. It's just the type of horse that probably be suited by this. He's off 136. Just even on flat form, he's capable of it. And if he jumps right, he's the right jockey on as far as I'm concerned. And I think Danny on makes him maybe second, third choice of what Willie has, because like Willie has about 6 or 7 in it. But and on heavy ground, I think it's going to suit him. So I'm going with him. I think he's kind of between 22 and 25 to 1, maybe 33 to 1 in a couple of places. But yeah, so he's a big price.
Yeah, 22 to 1 priced up with the 5 places. Blue Lemons there for Aidan. Andy?
Yeah, I think this market's a little bit lopsided here, and I don't mind. I started a joke, and he does potentially look like a handicap block, particularly if that King Rasco Grey goes and boosts that Limerick form. So I can see why bookmakers are slightly conservative with him, particularly with Bowen on board. A Dream to Share really hasn't taken to hurdles as well as his flat form suggests and his bumper form suggested he might. So that might always end up being his Achilles heel. But he's been put in fairly short, given his, like I say, his form over hurdles isn't anywhere near the level it should be. I actually think the solid one down, if you like, the front end of the market, and we're looking at a 14 to 1 shot, is Bones on Fire. He's one of only few course and distance winners in the field. But he did a lot wrong here at Leopardstown on the second day of the 4-day festival over Christmas and still won. And he's a likeable character, that Bowen's on Fire. He travels well in his races. He gets himself down to the business end fairly productively. I like the fact that Jack Kennedy's opted to ride him or still on him. He hasn't got to carry top weight either, which is a bit of a bonus. I think 14 to 1's massively underestimated him. And the other one I quite like at a price as well, Aidan's already touched upon, and Willie Mullins one at 33. I can actually trump his 33 to 1 with Kimmy DeMay right down the bottom.
I can show you my screen. I'm literally just looking at that Kimmy DeMay right now on the screen. I just looked at it and went, Jesus.
I mean, 40 to 1 is insulting for her. I mean, she ran in the Grade 1 at the Cheltenham Festival last season, and she's finished down the field. She wasn't quite up to that level, but the fact that Willie stuck her in it suggests that he's not taking her over there for the fresh air. She ran in that Old Skull Outlaw Bambino Fever Maiden, which has worked out incredibly well first time out, looking as though she just needed the run. They looked for an open goal with her next time out, but they stepped up to 2.5 miles, and she blatantly didn't stay. And they've got Sean Cleary Fowler as well to take the 7 off to get her somewhere near the 9.5 in the long handicap. So for a heavy ground French mare who's got a bit of a touch of quality about her, I think she's massively underestimated. So, yep, I'm going to go for a couple of big Hail Marys here. Bowen's on Fire, which is a little bit more obvious, and one less obvious is Kimmy DeMay.
You can add me to the Kimmy DeMay train as well there. I just, while you were talking, I was saying, what's this Kimmy DeMay? And I looked, I'd kind of forgotten about it. I hadn't obviously got to her, but no, I'd be liking that as well. I like the both of those Mullen sons.
Yeah, Kimmy DeMay is 22 to 1 priced up at the moment. So a big price there for Andy and a nod of approval from Aidan. We know, Aidan, that you don't bet bumpers, as you told us on the first
Absolutely not.
show. So this is all Andy for the...
my pen is ready. My pen is ready.
We've got Celestial Tune is the 9-4 favourite ahead of Wonderful Every Day at 3 to 1. 5 to 1 Brosna Shine. 7 to 1 Araminta. 11 to 1 Dawn of Light. 12 to 1 by those. Andy, give us the winner in the last, please.
I won't necessarily say I'll definitely give you the winner, but I've got one that...
Try.
I think that I've got one that's overpriced here. I'm rather hoping that Mossy Way, the horse that I mentioned in dispatches on the first preview that we did, runs really well in the concluding bumper. I mean, he's the outside of the field, so he might not necessarily live up to my expectations, but I don't think he'll disgrace himself, put it that way. But that keeping company race that was run over the Christmas period is the strongest run bumper that we've got on our times by an absolute mile. If you go back and look at that race, how strongly it was run. I mean, Bud Fox was like 13-8 favourite, and he travelled really well at the back of the field and got there, and then just couldn't raise a gallop from that point onwards. They were strung out all over Leopardstown. Like I say, it was a strongly run race. The two horses that forced that gallop were Mossy Way, and the other one's Royal Hillsborough. Now, I think she was one of only two mares in that race. And now she's in her own sex. She doesn't have the boys to contend with. Now, she chased home Old School Outlaw at Navan the time before, who looks like being a Grade 1 mare over hurdles, in a listed race at Navan. And she travelled really strongly in that race until just getting outclassed by a better horse. But she went on the heavy ground absolutely fine. And she's been overlooked here. She's 16-1. Now, she's well ahead of the rest of this field on pure numbers that we've got. She's one of the only few horses that's handled soft ground and run at a good gallop. The fact that she's gone round the track as well, I think, will stand her in good stead. So let's conclude my sort of preamble of Sunday with a stonking nice price winner, or a mention of a good price horse in the last race, Royal Hillsborough.
Royal Hillsborough 16-1, Andy. And given a bit of collateral form there, what about the bumper each way double?
Oh,
Right,
gosh,
geez.
yeah. I mean, Jesus, yeah.
I'm all over it.
The related double. It's a shame with the first one because I think he's running against a good bunch of geldings. I mean, there's
and just the 7 runners as well.
Yeah, it's a shame. There's only 7 runners. There's a couple of dark ones in there. So he might struggle to uphold my view in that first race. But I still think he won't disgrace himself. I mean, he might finish 3rd or 4th. He shouldn't be 33-1 anyway. But I do think that mare in her own sex, she hasn't got too many top notches to contend with. So yeah, I think she'll go really well, Royal Hillsborough.
Brilliant stuff. That brings our DRF previews to a close. Thank you very much to Andy and to Aidan for sharing their tips, thoughts and insight ahead of what will hopefully be a brilliant weekend's racing if it goes ahead. All fingers crossed it does so. Aidan, have a brilliant time on course. I hope you don't get too wet. We'll be back
Hopefully
again shortly with another episode of the Cheltenham Roar. But in the meantime, make sure you sign up for a priced up account if you haven't got one already. Plenty of offers, price boosts across all sports, and as we said, loads of really good place terms across the racing at Leopardstown over the next couple of days. So make sure you sign up for an account. Oddschecker have you covered for all your fixed or betting needs, including Andy's tips every single day of racing. So make sure you download the app or check out the site as well there too, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for plenty more of these previews. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
problem.
weekend's racing. We'll be back again soon with another episode of the Cheltenham Roar. Please do ensure that you're gambling responsibly.